welcome to the Mindset Michelle TV show. And we're so excited to have you joining us yet again for another episode of the show. Now, we're so excited to have people come and hear these different experts. And today's special guest is Cindy Nicholson. Hello, Cindy.
Hi, Michelle. It's great to be on here. Thank you so much for inviting me to join your show. I'm so excited.
So am I. It's so wonderful to have you on the show today and to be sharing the amazing expertise that you have that I'm sure everybody was so keen to hear. Now, for those of you that don't know Cindy's background, she is the owner and CEO of the Braintree organisation, and she is a very well-known person in the ASX organisations at that big end of town, where she works with individuals, teams in the organisations there to help them with many of the different projects and work that they do. Now, her background across different countries and different organisations has led her to being named by LinkedIn as one of the 10 most impactful women in technology, because she's a leader of transformation, people and processes. And she's also such an incredible human being. But rather than me keep explaining what I know and what the bio says, Cindy, please tell us a little bit more about how you came to be running Braintree and running, in a technology sense, all of these different programs and coaching and advisory for people.
Oh, thanks, Michelle. What a wonderful introduction. And yeah, absolutely delighted. I think you covered quite a lot of the things there. So I'll just give you a quick sort of helicopter view of what went on, and you can kind of think, how did that end up being in the coaching and the human transformation side of things? But essentially I describe it in 3 pillars. So my 35-year career has been across financial institutions, technology solutions and management consulting, and all of them have a similar theme, and that's all around innovation and change. So in financial markets, I worked for JP Morgan in London and Credit Suisse Financial Products in London, which are all derivatives trading houses, which was the thing at the time, very out there, very innovative, very complex trading products. But I also then moved into the technology side. So that I could support those types of products and financial instruments, and then subsequently moved into management consulting, working with Australia's leading tier 1 banks, running $70 million transformation programs, and loved working in that space and seeing all the transformation. So of course it's all innovation, but that's innovation at a business level and a technology level. And then in about 2009, I was introduced to somebody who was actually a life coach, and she completely changed my life. I got to understand a whole bunch of techniques that I really had no concepts about, and they were so important for me, not just in my personal life, but in my corporate life as well. And I started to realize very quickly how other people could really benefit from having that kind of coaching and support in their workplace. And so that's when I decided that I wanted to become a qualified executive coach, which I did in 2012. And over the last 10 years, I've been practicing that with individuals and organizations. And I worked in parallel with that. So when I was working for Optus Singtel, I was coaching and mentoring a lot of people, as well as my job, which was creating new businesses for the entity. But I could see the change I was able to make with individuals within that organisation. And then I stepped out to run my business full time, and it's just taken off because I'm just so passionate about it. So we've now got whole heaps of programs, one-on-one executive coaching, mentoring services. We work with young students coming through schools. We're just loving it. It's just amazing. So that's what brought me here today.
Fabulous. And I can really hear and feel that passion for helping people, and also one of the key things that you mentioned there about the innovation around the technology, the people or lives, whether it's an individual, innovating in their lives and taking them from where they are to where they want to be. And it's a great you covered quite an extensive history very well there and very succinctly, which can be quite difficult, I know, because women, tend to undersell or undervalue. But I really wanted to pause and take a moment and acknowledge the depth and the breadth of experience that you're talking about there, globally with the organisations, but also locally with Singtel, and learning and growing and seeing, well, actually, this is what's working for me now, and this is what's working for me now. So the kind of corporate career, and then the management consultancy career, and then refining it even more into that executive coaching level. And I really want to keep celebrating that innovation that you so beautifully presented as part of your life and what you do, and how that life history now is supporting others through the coaching that you do. So well done. And it really leads me on to thinking then, well, what is it that success means to you? If you were to share with people your own inner drive or inner being around success, what would that be?
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. They're very kind words. I really appreciate that. I think what you were just touching on there as well was that collaboration of experience, and I sort of look at that as three different bubbles. That's one of the corporate experience that I bring, the life experience I bring, and then the qualifications that I bring together. So when I look at what that sort of signature value is in the center there, it's where I really help to transform lives, and that's what success means to me. So on a day-to-day basis, I live with a motto that says I have to live each day with purpose and outcome. And so if I live each day with purpose and outcome, I know that that day has been successful. But on a grander scale, my goal in life and my legacy that I want to leave is that I have helped to transform the lives of other people, to break through the barriers that have held them back, and to help them to realize their true potential. That's what really drives me.
Wonderful. And I love again that in a sense, that model or experience level of purpose and outcome, and how for you that really so well relates to how you're then measuring success, and your own success coming from supporting others to develop their own purpose and outcomes within their lives. And that kind of circular sense of, more you're doing it and supporting others, the more that you're actually getting it in yourself. It's that self-fulfilling circle. And also, I think, taps into that wonderful thing about success, where it's that win-win for everybody. It's not you're successful but screw everybody else, or you don't want to be successful because it's all about everybody else. It's that win-win for everybody that comes across so beautifully. And I love the three different bubbles, and then your genius zone in the middle of what it is that you bring, and your unique skills and your unique version of what success means, and then that role modeling of it. People I know watching will also be quite interested with that background, from management consulting, corporate, and coaching. What sorts of tips or suggestions you might have then for themselves to build a successful mindset? Because obviously you didn't kind of wake up one day with it. It's been this wonderful evolution. So what sort of tips would you suggest?
Yeah, absolutely right, Michelle. I think, yes, you don't just wake up one day and you become something else. It's a journey. And we're on a journey with other people as well. So those other people have to believe in us. And often other people believe in you more than you believe in yourself. So when you talk about tips, some of the experiences that I've had in my life have been where I've been offered to have a position which I felt that I really wasn't in a position to do. I didn't feel I had the qualifications. I didn't feel like I had the ability to carry out that role. But others who'd worked with me had recommended me to this individual who was looking for someone to actually run a whole region for them with a software company. And they approached me, and I was very nervous, but I thought, well, they're believing in me. I'm going to embrace this opportunity. I always had a motto that you go around with a positive attitude and you take every opportunity that comes your way, and you don't fail. So I was given that opportunity, and I managed to excel in that, surprisingly for myself. But it gave me the confidence to get onto the next level, which was where I really wanted to set up my own business. And I don't think I could have done that without having had that experience previously, and it was because somebody else believed in me. So that whole doubt that we all carry around, that imposter syndrome, can be a massive hindrance, because I don't think without that experience I would have created Braintree.
What a great example, and thanks so much for sharing it with us, because I really do think that, especially women, we can be our own kind of self-limiting, and I know you talk about breaking through barriers with your clients, and for women we can be our own kind of sabotaging or self-limiting selves, and it's so important, isn't it, that that person that believed in you and believed that you could do it was the kind of the guiding and helping hand that you needed to then see it in yourself, to set up that regional business, and then say, well, okay, if I can do it for somebody else, I can do it for myself. And you set up Braintree from there. So it's a wonderful example of, sometimes whether it's through mentors or advisors or somebody just believing in you like that, that can be what helps you to build and create that mindset for success. Because it's kind of like that whole, if you can't see it yourself or you don't understand it yourself, how can you kind of go there? And that's where people outside of you or situations outside of you can actually help you see that. And I think in Australia we have so many natural disasters, and we have so many heroes in a sense come out of that. But if you had have asked the person the day before they did those quite heroic acts, are you a hero? They would have said, no, no way. But in those circumstances, they kind of just stepped up and did what they thought needed to be done. And then they become a hero. And I think setting up Braintree and believing that you can set up your own business is that same sort of, the conditions surrounding you and supporting you in that life journey and in that life path are so important.
Yeah, absolutely, Michelle. And I love what you just touched on there about not knowing what you don't know. And often people can think, well, I don't really need a coach. I'm going to be fine. And it's because we don't. There's a lot of things we don't actually understand are there, and tools and tips that can really help us be something much grander than we already are. And often my clients will refer to me as their business psychologist. They say I get into their heads. They say, how do you even know that I was thinking that? How do you even know that was what was going on for me? And then I will bring them out into something else. They say, I never actually thought I could do it that way. I never really thought about taking that angle or understanding that. So, you've opened up my mind to the blind spots that I wasn't aware of. And that's a lot of the powerful attributes that you get through coaching, is people don't tell you the answers. That's not what coaching is about. It doesn't tell you the answers. Mentoring you do, training you do, but in coaching, the skill is to bring those things out of the individual that they have actually come to the realization of themselves, and then they're accountable for that, and they believe that in themselves. It's their agenda, it's their journey, but the skilled coach will actually be able to bring that out, like they said, the business psychologist.
I love that, and that awareness, and supporting people to come to their own awarenesses. I think you've put it so beautifully. It's not like a mentor or a management consultant where they tell you this is the answer and this is the 5 steps to follow to get to from A to B. A coach, it's much more about supporting you to have your own unfoldment into your own awareness. And I sometimes, look at what we do and what people do in this space and think most of it is around awareness training, and people can be so unaware and just not see things about themselves or the situations or the opportunities. And having that external guide and coach can help you to then see that in yourself and see the opportunities available to you. And I think some of that self-talk, which limits and which you talk about unleashing your true potential, it really is important for breaking through, like breaking the biases we have, other people have, and that hold us and keep people many times playing small when they have that internal greatness, which really can shine if they just have some support along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And we delve into a number of tools and techniques that we can use with different clients, but having that connection with them, and understanding really their personality types and what drives them, you kind of go, what things can I actually bring to the table here? But one of the most common ones is exactly what you said, that disbelief in yourself, and really dealing with that imposter syndrome. So we use some sort of techniques. I say to people, just imagine you've got two parrots. One parrot's on your shoulder and the other parrot's on the other shoulder. And one parrot is you saying, I can't do this, you can't do this. What do you even think you're doing? Why on earth would you even try and do that? And you've got all this negative talk that's going on. And on the other side, I talk to my clients and I say, now imagine the face of that parrot is somebody that you know totally has your back, will always talk about how you are so capable of doing things. The example I gave of the person that had hired me and believed in me, I didn't really believe in myself, that sort of person. So when you ever have that self-talk that's negative, ask the other parrot, what would that person say? You know, what would Joe say? What would Susan say? Whoever that person is, what would they be saying to me right now? And listen to that, because that's actually the truth. It's your instinct, but you're not allowing it to come through. And once you can allow that to come through and you can change your thoughts into that positive frame of mind, you will be far more successful. So it's a great tool. Everybody loves it. Everybody talks about it, that it's just one of those things they say, when I'm in that moment, I just ask my parrot, what do I do? What would you say? And they get the right answers. So it's incredibly powerful. Just a simple thing like that.
And that's one of the amazing things about all these tools, is how simple they can be, but how powerful, isn't it? And exactly that self-talk that we all have, and that goes on constantly in our minds and around us about judging people, places, situations. It's just kind of a continuous noise, if you like, going on. But taking that awareness and control over it, so that they talk about, you know, which of the beasts, in a sense, are you feeding? Are you feeding the positive self-talk, or are you feeding the negative self-talk? And we can get caught up in those loops, can't we, about the negative self-talk as opposed to focusing on the positive self-talk, where, like that example of somebody that believes in you perhaps more than you're believing yourself, and listening to that, going, well, you've got this, you can do this, you can get through it, and you can grow. And yeah, you know, you stuff that up, but you know, you've got another opportunity to do it again, so keep going, and you'll eventually get it. You know, it's like riding a bicycle. So just those external reference points to remind you, well, you didn't ride a bicycle the first time, you didn't learn to walk by walking the first time, you learned it progressively. And as adults, you know, forgetting that, you know, you actually need that support, whether it's the internal self-talk, but also you need to remember to be kind on that journey as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The walking analogy is a true analogy. Riding a bike on anything. How many times when you were learning to walk or ride a bike, you fall over?
Sorry about that.
Yeah, so that analogy,
to ride a bike.
Learning to ride a bike or to walk is a great analogy, because we always would fall over. Undoubtedly, you have to. And, you know, you tell me any entrepreneur who's been successful first time around, they always have failures. They don't speak about them, but we should be speaking about them, because that's what gives confidence to other people. We have to expect that we are going to have failures before we're going to have success, and it's okay.
And I think that that's really true, because I remember Daniel Pink speaking one time from Thank You, and it was very, very powerful keynote presentation he was sharing. And what was fascinating about it was probably 45–50% of the presentation that he did was constantly being knocked back and failure. And I was quite surprised, because by the time we got to 50% way through the presentation, I thought, oh, it's all over. He would have packed up by now and gone home and forgotten. And then just, you know, having the helicopter over the Woolworths office and saying, pick my water, or any of the crazy things that him and his team did at the time to break through. And eventually they did break through. And now, of course, they have lots of products in lots of areas. But hearing, and I think you're so right, hearing those I failed examples, so that you can then tune into, well, when you're hearing those voices saying, oh, you know, you'll never do it, the voices of somebody that does believe in you and goes, well, you can do it. You know, Gary Vee, Richard Branson, whoever it is, Elon Musk, all of these people that we kind of think, oh, they just like walking. They woke up one day and became a successful overnight entrepreneur. They have failed. And if you listen to some of the debt that Tesla and space programs are in, they're in a lot of debt. So, failure for these people can be only like a heartbeat away from huge success to huge failure. But what they learn to live with is the risk, because there's people believing in them that they'll get through it. And I think that that's a really wonderful example that you've got there of hearing those different voices and then which one you feed and which one will help guide you to where you want to go in each every day.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And the networks, of course, are the ones that are really helping to support that as well, because the Elon Musks and Richard Bransons, they haven't done this on their own. They've done it because they've actually utilised the network and the framework around them to make them successful. So that's another really key component to success.
Yeah, and I think from the Kardashians onwards, we've kind of seen more and more where building your personal brand, building your network is something that has become pretty much integral to whether you have a business or whether you have a career in a corporate or an organisation. Building that network to support you and find, like you did, somebody that believed in you that you could set up the business. In a sense, telling the network about who you are and what you can do is the first step to that. So I think that that's a really important part as well.
Yeah, absolutely right.
So with all of that in mind, one of the other things I'm quite aware of with your fabulous background is also that you have worked very much at that high end or big end of town, as some people call it. And so some of the senior leaders, the senior people, they are already people that have a lot of self-motivation, a lot of get up and go. What sorts of tools and suggestions would you have for people that are already quite self-motivated to keep building on that mindset for success?
So there's a saying, and the saying goes, it's lonely at the top. And I think when you're in a corporation, you're always being nurtured and grown, and you have opportunities for professional development, you have opportunities to learn new skills, and there's usually somebody who's helping you on that journey. It's usually your manager. So when you get to an executive position, everyone's looking up to you to say, lead me. And you get to a stage where you say, well, actually, how am I really enhancing myself? How am I showing up as the best person that I can be? And how am I even leading from the top to ensure that the culture through the organization is the right culture that I would like? So there are different challenges that start to come into play. So experiences for executives can vary, because they now need to look at, well, what is our vision? What is our mission? What are we trying to achieve? What do we need to do to adapt to a different leadership style? I mean, you look at what's happening in leadership right now. We've gone through digital transformation. We're going through virtual transformations. There's a whole host of issues that come up for that. So how do we make sure that our people come to work feeling that they have purpose? They're not coming to an office and sitting at a desk from 9 to 5 and being told you do these tasks now. They actually want to come to work and bring value and purpose. So how do we actually integrate with those people? How do we change our leadership styles to do that? So to work with those executives and understand what it is they're trying to change in their business, and then help them to make that transformation on their journey, is really, really important. And I think everybody needs to know that someone has their back. Someone's got your back, and someone's telling you, maybe you should go this way, maybe you should go that way, maybe you could try this, maybe you could try that. But the other thing too is also to look at those individuals and say, well, what are your strengths? Because as an executive of an organization, you can't be everything to everybody. So where are your key strengths? Where do you really shine? And then where do you need to ask for help in other areas to execute on your plan?
And I think that that's a really great way of explaining around how, just like you had that person that believed in you to set up the company, when you become, head of the football team or head of the company or head of whatever, everybody's then looking at you and expecting you to, in many ways, have all the answers to everything. And yes, you can talk about collaboration and co-design, etc., but they're still looking for you to kind of set the tone, set the pace, And for many people, going from, I gave input, but I was part of a team, to now I'm in charge and everybody's looking at me to create that same sort of dynamic, can be, as you said, quite lonely. And I think you so beautifully, again, explained, however, it's an advisor, a coach, a consultant, or this or that, that having that external person, like we've been saying, talking to you and using things that you perhaps can't see about yourself and your strengths and the areas that you may go, well, I'm not as strong on this, so I'm not going to pretend. And I keep thinking, especially in the IT space, where there's senior managers and they're actually tech heads, very good at programming, but they're not great leaders. And the more that they keep going up through the ranks and becoming senior leaders of organisations, but they actually don't necessarily and don't want to have the people skills that you need for those types of roles. So rather than keep pretending or saying, oh, okay, you're going to morph into a, collaborative, chatty, person, acknowledging who you are and what, like you said, what your strengths are. So not everybody needs a chatty person like the last couple of years have shown. Sometimes it's just actually a leader that knows their job really well, and then people can trust that what they say, even though if it's not as eloquent, etc., they can trust in the and have confidence in who you are and what you're saying, even if the messaging and the way that you say it isn't as pretty as, say, a Kim Kardashian talking about a new lipstick or whatever. You are talking in that sense about a new piece of technology, and you're sharing it, and people then have that sense of, if you think about even Steve Jobs, I know he's quite hero worshipped now, but his style of presenting was actually just very calm, very boring in many ways, but people hung on every word because of the depth behind how he was sharing it and the insights that his very incredibly intelligent mind, how he joined all those dots and then he shared it. But he wasn't sharing it, like a Gary Vee or a Richard Branson or Elon Musk. He was sharing it as what was true and authentic for him, and it really worked. So I think that's a really great contrast and a really great point that you raise about being true to yourself.
Yeah, and I think you've hit the nail on the head there, Michelle, because a lot of leaders will maybe look at what's the prescriptive way to do things, and it's hierarchical and structural, but actually the trick is to be able to understand who your employees are, just like understanding who your customer is creates a product that will sell itself. So if you can understand who your teams are and who your people are, and you can then empower them, then you actually have a great product. That's essentially what it's about.
That's fabulous. Well, we seem to have come to close to the end now, and I'm sure people will have lots more questions because we've covered so many different things, from where your genius shine and the fabulous things you have to offer, the two different supporting voices and challenging voices, and many other. I really love that purpose and outcomes focus for the day as well. So if people want to hear more and connect with you, what's the best way?
Oh, look, I think social links, digital links is the way to go. Obviously, Cindy Nicholson on LinkedIn, or if you fail to find me there, I'm sure you will if you look up Braintree, but you can also look up Leadership by Braintree across Facebook, Instagram and LinkedIn, and of course my personal profile on LinkedIn as well. So, and failing any of that, we can just hop onto the website, braintree.net.au, and you can have a look around and see all the wonderful things that we offer. And we'd be delighted to speak to you and engage in any way possible to help you break through your barrier and reach your true potential.
Fabulous. That's such a wonderful approach and a positive and exciting approach to things. And so if there was some piece of advice that you would give your younger self, what might that be?
Oh, look, I think, following your instincts, leaning in, taking every opportunity that you possibly can, and build your network early. Your network will be your net worth, and just embrace that and take the opportunity to believe in yourself, just like others believe in you.
Wonderful. And what a fabulous way to end the show. So take the opportunity to believe in yourself in the same way that others believe in you. I really felt that. Thank you so much, Cindy, for being on the show today.
It's been my pleasure, Michelle. Thank you very much for having me here. I've really enjoyed being here today.
Thank you. And to all of our viewers, thank you again for joining us today and for being a part of this magic that we create for half an hour in the show, sharing all these tools and techniques and suggestions to help you to keep building your own successful mindset, to keep empowering you and being the best you that you can be. But for now, from my heart to your heart, be great, be fabulous, and be you.